Government will not be changing its target of creating 5 million jobs in 10 years at the moment. This is despite the challenging global economic environment brought on by the ongoing debt crisis currently gripping the Eurozone. Briefing the media on his trip to the IMF in Washington recently, Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan said the focus should be on the right policy mix, both within the public and private sectors. He says the problem of jobs is not a South African phenomenon, but a global problem.
One of the challenges that emerges from discussions in these meetings is that there's no magic formula for finding jobs in any economy. And the other challenge is, how do you manage technological innovation? Because in many parts of the world, technological innovation has crowded out jobs rather than created more jobs. The third challenge is, how do you create jobs at the right level, skills level that a society has? We thought that was a uniquely South African problem. There are other societies that face that challenge as well. And what is good is that this is now part of a global conversation.
Government spokesperson Jimmy Manyi may be required to resign as president of the Black Management Forum. This follows the public protector Thuli Madonsela's finding that he had a conflict of interests between his personal interests and as Director General of the Labour Department and later as the Chief Executive of the Government Communication Information Service. Madonsela tabled the report for the media in Pretoria earlier today. She found that Manyi had failed to comply with the Public Service Code of Conduct and the rules of the Public Service Commission. This means there may be changes to some or all of Manyi's official responsibilities.
My finding on this matter is that Mr. Manyi did have a conflict of interest between his personal interest in the BMF and his duty towards the Department of Labour. I also found that Minister Mbatisi Mdladlana, who was in charge of that department at the time, failed to comply with the relevant provisions of the Code of Conduct and the rules that required him to manage effectively the said conflict of interest as the relevant executive authority of the department.
There are concerns that there may not be prospects for the Durban 17th Climate Change Conference of Parties to finalize a legally binding instrument for the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. International Relations and Cooperation Minister Maite Nkwana Mashabane says that COP17 will seek to open the debate on what should be in the document. She was speaking in Johannesburg to constituent members of the National Economic Development and Labour Council. She says that South Africa will seek to ensure that as many countries as possible are on board in committing to efforts aimed at tackling climate change.
It is our duty as President of the conference to spare no effort to make sure that parties to the convention find common ground and that they are able to agree to an outcome that is fair but equally comprehensive, that's transparent and credible. So there's no way as the incoming president we could impose outcomes to the delegations.
The ANC says it's deeply saddened by the news of the passing of Regina Nso, the wife of the former Foreign Affairs Minister and ANC Secretary General Alfred Nso. Mama Nso died last Saturday at the age of 81. She was an ANC activist and spent 26 years in exile with her husband. Details regarding funeral arrangements are yet to be finalized. ANC spokesperson Keith Kosa.
She worked with the ANC in exile when she was exiled with Comrade Alfred Nso, and upon returning she got involved in the Women's League as an activist on women issues. She had a strong character. She also was good in advising and building young women in terms of the importance of women's struggles.
A 44-year-old shark attack victim is in theatre at the Constantiaberg Mediclinic in the Cape Peninsula for what hospital authorities say will be a lengthy and complicated operation. This after a great white severed his legs in an attack at Clovelly near Fishhook earlier today. The bather lost parts of his right leg and left foot in the attack. Eyewitness Lorraine Cullis.
I didn't notice anyone in the water. And when I turned around, everyone was running. 2 men were coming off the sand dunes and ran into the water, and there was just blood, and the shark had attacked a swimmer. And then the helicopter came and took him off to hospital.
The European Commission has proposed a new tax on transactions between banks and other financial institutions to make them contribute more to help indebted governments. EU Commission President José Manuel Barroso says governments and taxpayers have bailed out the financial sector, and it should now make a fair contribution.
I'm putting before you a very important text that, if implemented, may generate a revenue of about 55 billion euros per year. Some people ask why? Why? It's a question of fairness. If our farmers, if our workers, if all the sectors of the economy, from the industry to agriculture to the service, pay a contribution to the society, the banking sector should also give a contribution to society.
Top story this hour. Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan says government will not be changing its target of creating 5 million jobs in 10 years at the moment, despite the challenging global economic environment.